What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the DC Collector's Box. Today I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing the Prime 1 Studios Hush Superman. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome to the review part of the video. First thing is that this guy is so tall that my microphone cord actually isn't long enough. So I actually have it sitting down on the base. You shouldn't be able to see it. But if the sound quality is a little off, I apologize. Second, maybe you're noticing I'm wearing a completely different shirt than from the unboxing video. That's because when I was filming the review part, I didn't realize that the camera had died pretty close into the beginning of it. So it's been a few days since then, been about 3 days. I've had time to actually, look at him and I guess kind of gather my thoughts on how I actually feel about him rather than the first impressions. So speaking of the statue, let's go ahead and get right into it. So first off, I am extremely impressed and pleased with this statue. There are some issues that I have with it, which I will talk about later on in the video, but I'm in love with this statue. I think this is probably the best Superman on the market. Yes, he does have some issues, but in my opinion, I do think he's the best Superman out there. Let's start with the base. The base is huge. It's going to take up a lot of room. He's going to need a good amount of foot space to display this base. I made a custom shelf. I thought he would fit okay on there. He took up even more room than I thought. That's because I used the measurements off the website and everything. But the measurements are for the width at least going to be, I'd say about 30 inches. That's what it looks like with the angels. If you were to take the angels off, I know you can't see it, but I'll have some pictures up. Even if you were to take them off, they still rest on the base, so it's not going to change much. You might lose maybe like half an inch. So instead of 30 inches, it still might be like 29 and a half. Maybe even 30 still. The width isn't that bad. Make sure I get the front part without breaking anything. So the width is the depth is about 16 inches. And then the height of the statue, he sits pretty close to, I'd say about 42 and a half inches. So he's really, really tall. This is the fabric cape. There is a sculpted cape version, which I do have on pre-order still. So at one point I'll have both of them in here. But this is the fabric cape. I believe the ES is 1500, I think. And I know this was like $397, something like that. I really don't pay attention to the edition sizes, to be honest with you. Now, there is no exclusive. It's just either the fabric cape or the sculpted cape, which will come out whenever it comes out. I don't think it's supposed to be coming out in August. I don't think it'll be August. Even on Prime One's website, they don't have a date for it anymore. But anyways, back to this one. He does come with 3 portraits. So he'll come with all 3. This one's kind of my favorite, to be honest. It's more of a stoic look where he's looking down. This one, he'll be looking a little bit off to the left. And, oh no, I wasn't lying. Thought I was lying. Looking off a little bit to the left. And then the same thing with this one. The only difference is this one has regular eyes. This one has red eyes and a little bit more of an angry face on him. He does come with some instructions on how to assemble him. Depending on how I edit the video, maybe you'll see me reading them or not. Probably not though, because I don't want this video to be too long. I don't like taking up too much of people's time. So, and then this is the other option. It's the vines or the ivy, whatever you want to call it, to go around his neck. But starting at the base, really well done. Extremely sculpted. Can't even talk. It's sculpted extremely well. It's basically supposed to look like stone. He's on a stone base with a stone pedestal, maybe off the side of a building or something. As far as the execution goes, I think Prime 1 nailed it as far as what it's supposed to look like. It looks like real stone. The base is consistent of, I guess, 4 major pieces, 8 if you want to be technical about it. The base itself is one huge piece. The pedestal is another one. And then the angels are separate, and then their wings are separate as well. Now, the angels, they're either a really hard plastic or they're a very hollow polystone. I can't really tell what it is. It does have some weight to it. It doesn't feel completely plastic. It does have a little bit of weight. And then they key into the base via kind of like slots plus a magnet. And the same thing with the wings. The wings are more magnetic. They just kind of fit right into the angels themselves. One thing to note that I had issues with is that they actually go to a specific angel. I don't think you can just keep switching them out back and forth. At least it didn't seem like that when I was trying to assemble them. But the paint on the base, it's really, really well done. It's a lot of different shades of gray. There's a dark gray and then a couple of shades of lighter gray. And also there is this brown color, like this light brown that shows the wear and age of the base. Also in the very front, it's really hard to tell unless you have a light looking right at it. But there's this sort of design on the very front of the base. And it kind of has like this light, I want to say it's like a super light brown color. And I almost didn't notice it until I had a light on it. If you don't have a light on it, it's just kind of like your normal setup. You're probably not even going to realize it. But it's just a nice little extra detail, I guess, for a way for Prime 1 to add a little bit of color to the base. Now, on the pedestal that Superman is resting on, he does have just one keyhole. Basically, he just slides right in. And then obviously, since this is a fabric cape, you are able to rotate him freely. There's no issue. I don't hear any grinding or anything like that from any of the mechanisms underneath the pedestal. So it's really well done. I don't think there's another statue out there that's like this. So it's pretty neat. Lets you appreciate him from all angles if you want to turn him around or put him at the side or anything like that. So it's pretty cool. There's also some vines and some leaves on the pedestal itself. That's gonna probably I'm gonna come back to that. That's probably gonna be part of the misses portion of the video. So I'll come back to that in a little bit. Now, as far as Superman himself, man, he is absolutely just awesome. I love the way they sculpted him. The paint, the color choice on him, it's just perfect in my opinion. The body wise and everything, I really don't have an issue with anything. He's really, really well done. From the way they sculpted him to the shading to like the little details that they did, like little wrinkles all throughout the suit that makes it have that appearance that he's actually wearing a suit. Even in the boots, there's creases in the boots and everything like that, a little bit of wear to them. It's extremely well done. Starting with the boots, they're shaded really nicely. I love how they did that black shading to kind of emphasize some of the detail in the boots. The boots and the red trunks kind of match. I guess you could say that they're supposed to be the same material, kind of like this real heavy leather type material. That's kind of the look that they're going for. And then the suit itself is really, really well done. They made it seem like the way they sculpted it, it actually looks like he's wearing a cloth suit. And then the muscle detail in there, the anatomy, like the seams inside the suit, like where a seam should be, his kneecaps, everything is just insanely well done on here. And I love the way that they painted. The pictures really don't do it any justice. I've seen several pictures on Facebook and stuff like that, and sometimes even the color of the suit looks like a little bit like it's too washed out, it's too light, but in person it's perfect. I love the shade of blue that they picked. I think they picked the right choice for all the colors of his suit. And then going up to the trunks, again, like I said, they kind of match the boot look of the type of material it's supposed to be. And then the belt also looks like it's a leather, but it's not as textured or detailed, so it almost looks like it's supposed to be like newer or something like that. So it is different. And even the right here, this, I guess you would call it the buckle or the belt buckle, it's all smooth, unlike the what's supposed to be like, I guess, like the leather belt itself. And then going to the logo on his chest, it is sculpted and it is painted extremely well. It is a completely different texture and feel than to the rest of his costume, and so I really like how they did that there. And then the head sculpt. I think the head sculpts are phenomenal. It's supposed to be, Jim Lee's Superman. I think it does resemble Jim Lee's artwork as best as possible, especially for something that's 3D sculpted. I don't think it's going to be hard to mistake what Superman this is from. Again, like I had stated, you do get 3 different portraits. They're all nice. I think if I had to say which one was my least favorite one, it's going to be the regular one looking off to the left. Not that, and if you were to ask me why, I don't have an answer for you why. I guess I really like the look of him looking down. He's kind of hovering and flying above the base, so just kind of more stoic. So I guess it's more of a personal preference. And then obviously, who doesn't enjoy having a Superman with the red eyes? So it's kind of hard not to pick that one as people's favorite. But going back to the portraits, I'm kind of blinding myself here, so I can't really see it all that well. They put so much detail into his facial expressions in all 3 of the portraits. There's a bunch of wrinkles in his eyes. I shouldn't say a bunch. He's not old, but they did make him look, I guess, an older Superman. He's definitely not a Superman in his 20s. Probably late 30s is kind of what I think they were going for. When my wife saw him, she said they made his skin look more of a leather material. I see it more of just age. Like, he's been Superman for a while. He's been in plenty of fights. He does have imperfections in his face. There's also but I mean, there's wrinkles around his mouth, his eyes. He has like a dimple in his chin. I mean, they just put so much detail. And then the shading, especially like around his neck, they even kind of sculpted in some veins. In certain lighting, you can see the veins inside his neck and everything like that. And then I really love the way that they sculpted his hair. It's like it's flowing through the wind. I think it just, man, there's just not enough words to describe how great everything is in person. I really don't think that pictures are going to do this justice at all. So lastly, I'm going to talk about the cape. The cape is really well done. It is a wired cape. The wire basically frames out the cape, basically. So there's nothing inside the middle as far as wires in the cape. The outside of the cape is more of a silk material. The inside of the cape is kind of like a nylon type material. And then the S symbol on his cape, it's more like a patch. Like, that's kind of what it feels like, one of those patches that people put on their jackets or something. But it looks like it's probably sewed in. So, I don't know if you can see this or not, but the cape came out. So, I guess this is kind of a good time to talk about the misses of this statue. And to me, the cape is a big miss for me personally. Maybe it's just my statue that has this issue, but anytime you move the cape or you touch it, it just pops out right away. And it's kind of irritating a little bit. And there's some grooves. I think that's kind of the thing I probably forgot to talk about, is that there is a groove in his suit where the cape just kind of just slides in. They have these plastic pieces sewn to the inside of the, not the inside, but on the part of the cape where you're not going to see, and you push those plastic pieces inside. And that's how the cape is supposed to fit in without falling out, I'm guessing. But the issue with mine is, I think on this side, the wire is pushing too close to that plastic piece, so when I'm pushing it in, it doesn't sit flush all the way. This side sits in fairly well. It doesn't really move. It will move if I start messing with this like all crazy. If I start lifting this up, yeah, it's gonna pop right out. But this one, I can't even do this without it. And see, it already moved off of him. Granted, I know it wasn't pushed in, but still, even if I were to do that with it pushed in, it would still pop out. So that's one of the misses for me for this statue. And it's not a deal breaker, but it is a little frustrating. I don't like it that it's doing this. In the beginning of this review, I said I had the sculpted cape on pre-order. One of the main reasons I picked this one up also is because I loved how flush the cape sat on his shoulders. On the sculpted cape, it's not that way, at least as far as the prototype pictures. Jeez, cannot talk today. The prototype pictures for him, they're more raised up, and I didn't like that look. It wasn't as clean of a look. I get why they have to do it, probably for breakage or something like that. But I really loved how flush the cape set over his shoulders. So that was my main reason for picking this up. The other myth is this thing here. Man, I don't like, it's not the execution as far as the design standpoint, it's the paint. It's painted very, very cheaply. There's basically no shading on this thing whatsoever. There's a little bit of like dry brushing on the leaves. I mean very little dry brushing as far as I can tell. But I mean, I don't think there's a tree in nature or a vine in nature that's just one solid color. And for them to do that, to me, just, I don't know, it doesn't say Prime 1 quality when I look at this. And so I won't ever display him with this, and I know most people that pick up the statue probably won't either, but it's just one of those things that I wanted to point out. But speaking of the vines on the pedestal are the other issue for me. Same thing, they're painted really cheaply, and they don't even match. Like, this is a dark brown, this one is a tan color, so I don't know if that's supposed to be intentional. I know the vines aren't supposed to be traveling up his suit or anything like that, but it's a pretty big contrast. Even the leaves on this are painted darker than the leaves on the pedestal. So I'm not too sure what happened there. I know I'll be putting up some pictures, and the pictures that I took, it actually didn't look that bad. But in person, it's the one thing that just really sticks out on the statue. If you were to look at the overall, base, that was the first thing even my wife said when she saw it. She's like, man, the leaves on here and the vines aren't all that great, and they're not not that great at all. And I really hate saying that because I'm a huge fan of Prime 1, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion on it. And to me, the vines are a big miss. But overall, despite the cape and the paint application on the vines, I still highly recommend you picking up this piece. To me, no statue's ever going to be perfect. You're never going to have a 10 out of 10. If I had to grade this one, I would give it like a 9 out of 10. My cape is the issue, and then the paint app on the vines. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe somebody can explain to me, but I'm not understanding why the vines look this way. But I mean, again, hey, it's such a massive piece that who's really going to be looking at the vines? Now, I guess the final note that I guess I could talk about is when he was first, they had the first prototypes of him. I really loved the way that he looked, that design of him. He was much bigger, he had a bigger body. And if it wasn't a bigger body, then his head was a little smaller. But either way, he just looked more powerful, more imposing. And I really loved that look that they had originally shown. And I believe the head sculpt was also different. I'm pretty positive that the head sculpt was different. They changed it to these. Not that I have anything wrong with these. I still love them. I still think they're great. But that other one, I liked it a little bit more. His face was a little bit more square. It wasn't so linear. The other one was a little bit more, same thing, more imposing. Had that stronger jawline and everything. And I really liked the way that he looked. I know a bunch of people complained, especially on one of the groups on Facebook that I know Prime 1 kind of looks at. And hey, I mean, they listened and they changed it. And I know a lot of people love him, and they love the company for that, which, I mean, that's great. I have no issues that the company listens to them. But just my personal opinion and my personal preference, I would have preferred the original design of that Superman. The other thing that I actually thought was a little bit better was on the enraged portrait, he actually had vines sculpted and painted on his neck. So it wasn't this plastic piece that just goes around him. And I thought that looked 1,000 times better than kind of the end result of what we got. The way I saw it was, this is Superman from the Hush comic book. He gets poisoned by poison ivy, and that's the reason he's enraged and he has those vines. And I know people were like, if it wasn't for that, this would be the best Superman ever. Oh, why do you got to do that with the red eyes? Why do you have to have the vines on him? And again, my personal preference is, to me, that was part of the story. Like, this Superman is from that comic line, so why not have something that actually represents the comics? And they tried to do the best of both worlds, you know, give people what they wanted on both sides. So people got the enraged head sculpt without the vines on them. And I know a lot of people loved it that they did that. Everybody was happy. And even I was too at first. You know, I thought that was really nice of them to do that. And then we got this instead. But again, I know that this isn't a deal breaker. Everybody's probably going to say, like, well, just don't display, you know, just display the head without it. And I will. But it's just one of those things that I wanted to be honest about. I know I'm probably in the minority when it comes to that. Everybody's probably going to be much more happier with the one that they got. But if I'm being honest with you, I would have preferred the original prototype. Again, that being said, I'm still extremely happy to have him. Whichever one I decide to keep, he's going to be a part of my collection permanently. I have no interest in selling any of these. Obviously, unless there's some unforeseen financial circumstance and I have to, then obviously I will. But to me, he's going to be the best Superman out there. I know Prime 1 has a couple other ones, like the Frank Miller Superman. I know that they previewed that not too long ago, and he looked really awesome. But if I had to choose between the Frank Miller or the Hush Superman, it's going to be this Hush Superman. But if you stayed to the end of all my rambling, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.